afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all. Hope most of you are back at your office workspaces and keeping healthy and safe and have adapted well to the new normal during this unlocking phase. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar. Commscope presents Designing and Building Smart Office Campuses. It's heartwarming to see such a fabulous response to this webinar series brought to you by Architect and Interiors India. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. My name is Indrajit Sahuji. I head the construction and design vertical for ITP in India, and I'll be your host today. Let me begin with a brief introduction about ITP. ITP Media Group is one of the largest foreign media companies in India. The group now publishes more than 100 weekly and monthly magazines and has a wide portfolio of market-leading digital properties. Some of our well-known global titles include magazines like Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, Time Out, Cosmopolitan, Grazia, Construction Week, Architect and Interiors India, and more similar prominent titles across industry verticals. In India, we have 7 titles, including Architect and Interiors India. Architect and Interiors India is our flagship title and is amongst the most respected and widely read B2B titles in its domain. And as we gather today to discover what goes behind designing and building smart office campuses, long gone are the days when employees used to sit all day in inflexible workspaces, adjusting themselves and their needs to the physical conditions of the workplaces. The new model of workplace no longer fits employees into the pre-designed work sites, but using technology, redesign the work site to fit the needs of the employees. Just like our smartphones and smartwatches, our workplaces are being reinvented to be just as smart. Smart building leverage big data, the Internet of Things, and intelligent building management systems to assess the physical conditions of workplaces and adjust them to meet employee needs. These tech systems facilitate and improve employee well-being and performance by modifying objects connected to the Internet, such as lighting bulbs, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, office chairs and desks, coffee machines, and even whole office spaces. Smart technology collects data from these objects and generate automated and controlled responses to improve an employee's health and productivity. Let's figure out from the experts some of the ways they recommend and we can adopt while designing and building smart office campuses. We are looking forward to an interactive and engaging session and need your complete involvement. And to ensure this, we'll take a few live questions during the session. For those who want to ask a live question, you may do so by clicking the hand icon in the control panel, and my team will get in touch with you. We'll also be running a Q&A at the end of this webinar. So we have enabled our Ask a Question feature. It's on the control panel at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions, just type them there. I promise we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. And if you miss anything, don't worry, we'll be sending around an on-demand recording to your mailbox, and it will soon be available on our website as well. Without any further delay, let me introduce our partner for today's session, Commscope. Commscope pushes the boundary of communications technology with game-changing ideas and groundbreaking discoveries that sparks profound human achievements. They collaborate with customers and partners to design, create, and build the world's most advanced networks. It is Commscope's passion and commitment to identify the next opportunity and realize a better tomorrow. Discover more at commscope.com. Thank you, Commscope, for partnering with us and for helping us run this informative series of webinars on how technology can help. Without further ado, let me introduce the esteemed panel for today. The panel will be moderated by Captain Rajesh Sharma, Managing Director, PMSI at Cushman, Wakefield. Welcome, sir. Mr. Nirmal Mangal, India Director, Architecture, Moser Associates. Welcome, Mr. Nirmal. Jagvinder, Pinni, Senior Portfolio Manager and Facilities, Microsoft. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Nittan, Bhalla, GM and Head Facilities, Wipro Digital. Welcome, Mr. Nittan. Mr. Ajay Bhatt, VP and Head Administration, Godrej Industries. Welcome, Mr. Ajay. Mr. Shobit Jain, RM Technical, Commscope. Welcome, Shobit. And Mr. Ajay Kumar D, Executive Director, Head National Operations, CBRE. Welcome, Ajay Kumar. Now, before I hand it over to the moderator, I have an interesting message from our partner on usage of technology and how it can help in making your campuses smarter. To begin with, let me quickly have Shobit. Over to you, Shobit.
Thank you, Indrajit. Thank you very much. Let me try and I'm going to start my presentation off. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for that warm welcome, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to present to such an esteemed line of panelists and people who have joined us today. I'll be talking a little bit about the infrastructure trends in the smart office campuses that we keep on hearing a lot about. And just to go into it right away, this is what we have been seeing for quite some time. And these are the kind of offices we have seen for the last 10 years, where you've got large, panels, and you've got partitions higher present. There were individual people had individual cubicles with their small private world, and there was not much interaction between the other employees in the office. But things have started changing now, and we are seeing a shift towards an open environment. I agree. The photo in front of you is a gross exaggeration of what is happening. You're not really having this kind of environment still. But what this photograph is trying to show is that employees no longer want to be sitting in their own private spaces. They're willing to move around, work standing up, work sitting down, whatever makes them comfortable, whatever allows their creative juices to start flowing and create and solve problems for their organizations. So with this, Commscope has also identified three major trends that we have noticed, and one is the flexible seating arrangement. No longer, as I said, employees want to sit in an individual space designed for them. They want to go into any space, log in, do their work for next say 8 hours, and then log off, and then the next person can come and sit in the same spot. This is very relevant in today's age, especially in the pandemic age that we are in right now, because you see half the workforce coming in on a certain day and half the workforce coming on the other day. So this makes a lot of sense that these kind of flexible sitting arrangements are done inside offices. The second other trend that we have noticed is the collaborative center. And this is the area where the real work is happening inside these offices, where people come together, exchange ideas, they talk to each other, they understand each other's problems, and then they come out with a solution. So the area that has to be designed in this particular rooms or areas should be such that these people are able to work freely and are able to function smoothly. Then the third area or the third trend that we have noticed is the open spaces. As I showed in the first slide, long are gone are the days when you had high-rise partitions. People could not even make eye contact with each other. Now we see a complete flat floor where the employee sitting on one corner of the hall can actually look at the employee sitting on the other side of the hall. And there's a lot of hustle and bustle going on. People are moving around. There's a lot of connect between the employees, and they feel a lot more comfortable connected to their work. So these are the trends. And the important thing is at the background to make all these kind of things possible, which is really working very hard and tirelessly to make all the things function smoothly. Collaboration is happening. Having said that, it is also true that these networks are becoming more and more complicated. They're not becoming easier. They're actually becoming a lot harder because we have a lot more applications now latching onto these networks. We've got IoT, mobility, security cameras. We've got lighting systems, smart lighting. They are all latching onto the network today. We see a lot more demand because of resiliency. We need connectivity everywhere. No longer do we just need connectivity on our own personal workstations. We require connectivity in the hallways, in the cafeteria, in the staircases, sitting outside on a bench in the campus. Connectivity is required everywhere. So wherever the employee feels comfortable, he can just sit and do his work. Similarly, we see a lot more technologies now also coming up, like Wi-Fi 6 has become a reality. We see customers now looking at Wi-Fi 6 with a lot of interest. 5G is going to start getting rolled out, in the next couple of years. PoE, power over Ethernet, cloud-based applications. We're talking about 100 gig, 400 gig kind of applications. There was a time when 100 Mbps was more than sufficient and it used to meet all our demands. But today, we see 100 gig, 400 gig kind of applications inside data centers of these large organizations. Analytics is playing a very important role so that customers can start making informed decisions of what things they need to change in their office spaces. Having said that, it's not all bad for the IT managers. Things are also going towards a converged kind of platform. So we see all these different services and applications converging onto the Ethernet. And when I say Ethernet platform, we see that they are also running on the twisted pair cables. Now, as I said in the beginning, that connectivity is going to be one of the prime focuses for everyone. So we see that access points, Wi-Fi phones, surveillance cameras, smart lighting, meeting schedulers, all these kind of services and applications now coming onto twisted pair cabling. Now, why that is important is because earlier IT managers would have to run around, get hold of different vendors so that these vendors can build up their networks and for the different services. But once everything starts converging, they just have to get hold of one vendor who can actually create the entire network, and then these applications and services can run on these networks. When you have, if you also notice, and a lot of these applications would be running on PoE. Now, for those people who are not well versed with the terminology of PoE, PoE stands for Power over Ethernet. This is when we are delivering power and communication on the same set of cables. So this was very attractive earlier on because now customers did not have to create a power infrastructure and a communication infrastructure just to get their devices up and running. But unfortunately, in the initial days, the kind of power that was being delivered was only around in the tune of 15 to 30 watts of power, which was good enough to turn on a camera or a telephone, a white telephone. But as the evolution of this technology has happened, we see now 60 watts of power and 90 watt of power also being able to deliver on these cabling systems. And with that, a lot of possibilities have opened up. Now we see that laptops are also can also get powered on and communicate. Digital signages. We are seeing LED TVs also getting the kind of power and the communication through these cables. But with everything also comes certain issues. And when you start pumping in more and more power in these cables, obviously the amount of current that has to go in also goes up. The side effect is that the amount of heat dissipation is also high. And when you get more heat, accumulating, one of the biggest drawbacks is that the attenuation of signals happen. That means that signals will start performing well. There will be drop in packets, and all those kind of issues will start creeping up. So obviously, one of the solutions to this particular area is that we need to look at a cabling system that will tolerate higher temperatures. A certain study was done some time back to evaluate the different types of cabling systems that are present in our in our industry. And the study was done to see that if we send 400 milliampere kind of currents through these cabling systems, which cabling system is the best to cater to this high increase in temperature, and which also balances the cost factor. Because you don't want to have a cabling system which increases the cost so much that it becomes unviable. So the cabling systems that came out with flying colors seems to be the category 6A, which only had showed an increase of 6 degrees Celsius, whereas category 6 and category 5E cables were showing high levels of increase in temperature. So with this kind of a study being done, it was decided by the standard bodies also that going forward for any greenfield office network that has to come out, the de facto solution or the cabling system that should be deployed in these offices should be category 6A. Another trend that we have seen is the adaptation of Wi-Fi applications in the office spaces. Earlier, Wi-Fi was not a very viable solution because the kind of speeds we were getting was only on the tune of 11 Mbps, and it went up to around 600 Mbps. Still, customers were not very comfortable asking their employees all to latch onto the Wi-Fi system, because as you know, Wi-Fi is a shared medium. So the 600 Mbps would be distributed amongst all the people who have latched onto that particular access point. But with the evolution of this particular technology has also happened, we see now 6.9 gigabits and 8 gigabits of kind of speeds possible. And now with the next generation kind of Wi-Fi 6 coming in, 10 gigabits per second is also possible. This is where customers have now sat up and started saying, wait, can we now seriously start thinking about making this application and keeping the wired line as a backup? Things are now happening, and we see a lot of Wi-Fi in the near future becoming a de facto thing in all the our office spaces. Obviously, as soon as you go beyond 1 gigabit per second, you by default have to start looking at category 6A because you really don't have any choice. Category 6 does not support any speed above 1 gig. So the default solution that one would have to look for their offices would be category 6A. Another area of concern or evaluation by the customers is that, as I said, so many applications and services are now coming onto the Ethernet platform. We will see a huge volume of cables and connections happening across the floors. So obviously, one area of concern for an IT manager would be that how do I manage such a huge volume of connects? Every day something is going to go down, something is going to stop functioning. How do I pinpoint the problems? How do I go ahead and rectify the issues with minimum amount of disruption? So a solution called automated infrastructure management is one solution which allows the customer to physically monitor the physical layer in real time. So it allows the customers to do the documentation in real time. Any move and add in changes that are happening can be immediately notified. So if any unauthorized access into the network, it will notify you that who and where physically located is trying to access your network. So all these kind of things are now possible through this automated infrastructure management solution, something that Commscope calls Envision. So that's it from, on the trend side. I just want to, for the benefit of those people who is listening in and who are not aware about what Commscope does, I just want to have a single slide over here and tell you that we are the organization that manufactures anything related to connectivity, whether it is copper, fiber connectivity, whether it is RF antennas, whether it is microwave antennas, Wi-Fi access points, network switches. We are in the industry for connectivity. So we solve customer problems when it comes to networks. We are a 8.3 billion organization in the year 2019. We have a strong 30,000 workforce that is helping customers across the globe in solving their problems. And then along with that, we have 10,000 plus partners who act as our extending arms, who go to customers, sit with them, they come back and they tell us about the problems that customers are facing. Along with the partners, we go ahead and we solve customer problems. To give you an idea of the kind of commitment that we have when it comes to innovation, we annually invest $800 million of back into R&D. In fact, 40% of our sales come from solutions that we have invented over the last 2 to 3 years. That is remarkable. And another testimony of the kind of investment we have in technology is the fact that we hold 15,000 patents. So that will tell you a little bit about Commscope. And in case you've got any questions or anything that you would want to, answering, I'm here. Or you can always get in touch with me and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you. With that, Inderjeet, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thank you, Shobit. It was really enlightening, and you have set the tone for the discussion, touching upon the dimensions of what technology can do and how you can help. Now my delegate knows whom to go for any help relating to connectivity. I'm sure the audience is quite excited and waiting to know the tips and tricks to design and build smart office campuses. Without further delay, let me hand it over to Captain Sharma. Over to you, sir.
Okay, guys, that was great. Good to know that. Once again, thank you so much for all of you to join in today for this session on designing and building smart office campuses. But before we really kickstart, I think an important note which I always say, COVID, we are talking about COVID era and everywhere it's about COVID. So guys, as a Fauji, I always explain it that way. I say it's a war with COVID. It's a war with COVID. Earlier, we were in the phase one of our war, which was more like a defensive phase. And generally, in defensive phase, you are careful, you are watchful. So there are hardly casualties. But then we came in the second phase, which is an offensive phase, wherein you are out now in the market. So that defensive phase, we all were at home and to complete lockdown. But now we are going out. And unfortunately, that's the reason we see a lot of cases going up also. So we need to be extra careful, though we pray and hope for the well-being of your family members. But please make sure we cannot afford to take it casually. We need to be serious about it. Okay, on that note, it's already 4:25. I think I'll not talk much about the topic. Topic is self-explanatory, and every company, everyone is talking about these days smart offices, smart office campuses. And I keep wondering, does that mean that till date we did not have the smart offices? Again, the definition of smart may differ for different people. So I think I'll not discuss that. I'll straight away ask this as a question to our esteemed panelists. And my question, I'll start with you, Ajay. And sorry, we have two Ajays, so I'll take full name, Ajay Bhatt. Uh, I'll start with you. So when people say we need to look at smart office campuses, first of all, I am trying to understand what do we mean by smart office or a smart office campus? And are we by any means saying that till date we did not have smart offices? Because I am hearing this terminology for last I don't know how many years in the industry. People say, oh, 10 years ago also I heard people say now we are moving to smart offices. So what was that? I'm just trying to understand from you, Ajay.
Thanks, Captain Rajesh. Yeah, so I mean, what you're saying is right. I mean, we've been hearing about this smart, office campuses since a long time now. And are we still there? We're not there. Since when? When did we start all this? So if you look back, and think about it, the first instances of the smart offices, were the introduction of things like your laptops and your internet, etc. And then came the advancements in terms of smartphones, applications, cloud-based softwares, etc. And then that's where we say that, so today the smart offices is even further, with the implementation of high-tech integrated systems and gadgets, is streamlining the productivity as well as making connectivity and communication more slicker. So I think the smart offices will depend on an organization, what the vision is and how do they want to actually take it forward from, in terms of these building smart office campuses. And the need for such tech-dependent workplaces, actually has been catalyzed by the growing profile of, the agile working or the activity-based work, and actually a nomadic work approach, which is now come the feature of the new generation. And so in today's world, it's all about working with increased efficiency, working smarter, and the smart workplaces, which basically enables employee to achieve better productivity, better efficiency. Things like we have various components to these smart offices. I mean, it's a long list, but I can just quickly, talk about a couple of them. For example, we have intelligent climate and lighting control systems, hot desking and a smart conferencing system. Voice control. We already have Alexa for Business, for example, which is a well-defined, assistant which takes care of many things. Internet of Things and sensors. A sensor can send the temperature details of the room to the cloud, and which can then use this information to automatically adjust the thermostat based on individual preferences. Artificial intelligence. I mean, if the sensor indicate that the area is unoccupied for certain period, I think the AI systems can reduce energy consumption by powering down the HVAC, etc. And I think these kind of smart applications and smart systems have brought a lot of benefit to the table. I mean, if we talk about as an organization, it's about better communication, connectivity, collaboration between the employees, attraction of and retention of the talent, improved productivity and efficiency. Basically, a culture change, inspiring a positive and forward-thinking culture. And of course, I mean, if we talk about technically as FMs, there's a lot of analytics to it. Gives an insights on various factors which we can use for our more comprehensive time management and processes. So I think these are certain areas that I would just quickly across.
Thank you so much, Ajay. No, I understand what you're saying is obviously we started hearing about this concept of being smart probably a few years ago, and the definition was slightly different in terms of what we are talking about today. And I think technology is obviously helping us out. But and coming back to you, Shobit, though last 10 minutes we heard you, and I think it was pretty impressive, and we broadly understand what you're talking about. But still, if you have to summarize this, so the idea is to understand from you what sort of benefits as a company people get out of it. So why we keep talking about smart offices? So we have heard Ajay also spoke about, and he covered, I think, most of the aspects in terms of the technology, in terms of the employee, both in terms of productivity. But the idea is from you to understand, what do you think? How companies are benefited out of this?
I think Mr. Bhatt has actually hit the nail on its head, and he's covered up quite extensively of what are some of the applications we are seeing in this smart office. But I personally also feel that I think the word smart office has different meanings for different people. I mean, for example, for the facilities team, it could mean how to utilize the available space more smartly. For the IT team, it could mean how to utilize technology to improve communication and the flow of information, for example. Maybe for the maintenance team, it could mean to preemptively foresee issues smartly. But I think in the end, the goal for everyone is to increase productivity and collaboration in a safe and healthy environment for all the employees. How each department or function achieves this goal is what constitutes a smart office, in my opinion. And technology, I feel, can play a very, very important role in helping to achieving this goal. Some benefits may not be tangible, but these benefits can be quantified, such as the amount of time saved in doing a certain task, or the convenience of locating an empty meeting room without having to run around the office or campus. Um, I think there are other benefits can be in terms of monetary benefits as well, such as reduction in overhead costs. Um, Such as using, Mr. Bhatt also mentioned, such as using smart lighting and IoT applications. With the combination of these things, we can probably, ensure that technologies can translate into benefits that are um, directly that appeals to the organization management as well. And especially when it talks about money and how much money you save, that is always good to hear for the management.
Very true. And I think I'm absolutely with you, especially when we talk about translating any sort of an effort in terms of productivity or cost saving. I think that's one thing which every management looks in for. So great, thank you so much. So we are convinced that smart offices is definitely required and needed. Now let me go to Nittan Bhalla from Wipro and dear friend. Nittan, we have been part of the industry for so long. Reason I think you'll be the right person to talk about this whole evolution of workplace. Like we just spoke about that. We heard this terminology many years ago, and till date we are talking about smart offices. Maybe 10 years ago, people will talk about smart offices, but how this whole thing transformed, how this whole thing evolved in the last so many years, I think that's very, very important. More than that, since you represent a pretty large company, as far as adoption of smart offices is concerned, what's your take on that? As management, as companies, how open managements are when we talk about moving to a smart office or getting into a smart campus concept?
Sure, Captain Rajesh. In fact, yeah, it's been 2 decades. We started off with this ITES vertical, and the industry over here in India. And initially, it has been a culture of what you call as a call center, right? So we started off with that, and it was more to do with the client deliveries, the client. Managing some KPIs, SLAs, and you need to turn around things in a certain period of time, and you're serving, lots of geos. And over a period of time, it has now evolved to BPOs, and BPOs has now evolved to something called COEs, the Center of Excellence Units, right? And now we are not, while we are talking about the client satisfaction, it is also more to do with the employee experience, right? Um, End of the day, what is more important? A happy employee, giving a good productivity results. End of the day, that is what we are looking at. And as Shobit mentioned in his presentation earlier, from not an eye to eye contact, it is the industry which requires a lot of collaboration. The technologies, the platforms that has been used 2 decades back, and now today what we are talking of, it calls for more collaboration, it calls for more intensive brainstorming. And hence, the requirement of offices which will include resilience spaces, which will include a full-fledged interactive, what you call, not pantries as such, but now they have been involved into work cafes, right, where people do interact over there over a cup of coffee. And hence, that increases the ability to deliver more better results, for the project. So we are working like make the best use of the real estate at the beginning when we started off our careers in this industry. Today it is not. Today it is more to do with like the collaborative approach within the different groups of teams altogether. Earlier it was 25 is to one manager, and that's a teams up with another 200 people. So where do we get those kind of a stuff? And that is where the evolution of the so-called smart office has come in. And to bring, end of the day, obviously, as everyone is talking about, it's more about the productivity and the experience internally with our employees. So yeah, that is how it has been coming in.
Great, Nittan. Thank you so much. I think very, very impressive way of conveying from the so-called call center or BPO concept versus where we are today in terms of the evolution, what has happened till now. I'm sorry, I know we have other speakers also, but Ajay, as in Ajay Bhatt, I'll come back to you again. So we have heard about this piece, which is very important. We all agree. Evolution also we've heard that talking about, but now specific to this COVID era. Do you want to comment anything, because you represent one of the largest in the India in the country? So, if I may say this evolving definition specific with regard to COVID era, any comments on that?
Certainly, Rajesh. I think not any but many comments on that, because this COVID era has certainly taught us so many things which otherwise I think we would have taken a little easy in life than what we are going through. So, so if we talk about the COVID era, the present stage, which started somewhere in the end of by the Feb March this year, and still is ongoing, there are a lot of things that that we could evaluate during the course of time, and probably understand that are real smart offices really that smart that we are able to tackle these kind of situation, or we need to be a little more smarter in terms of the campuses, in terms of the offices, or in terms of the workplace. And that gave us a lot of material to think on, that how do we move forward on this particular part of it. So COVID, so whether it is talking about actually creating a system where we have people who come into we have a lot of factories across the country, all the directions. And suddenly when you say, that the factories are supposed to be shut down, what do? Everything is stopped. The logistics is supposed to, just stop. So now how do we bring people back to the thing after, of course, the relevant legal procedure? We initiated, we formulated certain applications on our system itself, in-house system, and we created where people could register themselves, have, if there are any symptoms, they would be directed to the doctors, get their tests, etc. done, then come back to the factory, start working in various shifts. So we have, if at all the number of people working in a factory is 100, so we actually divided these people into 3 different shifts, and 30 people working in a particular shift. So we are able to maintain that social distancing. We are still able to maintain the health of an employee, and also maintain various other requirements which is there during the time. Then came, with the Arogya Setu app, etc., and there are so many. The market was actually flooded with so many such applications, and everybody wanting to say that their application is the best, whether it is in terms of the social distancing, in terms of the tracking of an individual who is affected, not affected, etc., etc. So I think so. This, I'll just sum it up, because I know the time is running out. So to sum it up, we had a lot of learnings in this entire period, whether it is about business, how to function the office, whether do we need some certain other applications to be installed in the offices. Yes, we need, and there is a lot of learning which we have done, but quite a few, still to be implemented as we go forward, and we are still in the process. I'm not saying that we are 100% there, but we are still in the process to implement those systems and processes with the help of the technology, where in the coming future will be much better than what we were, say, about 3-4 months back. And That's how it was.
Great, Ajay. I think to summarize this, what we learned probably last 15 years, I think is more than that has been taught to us in last whatever 7 months, because the need was such and the crisis was such that we all were forced to. And to the extent when you're talking about during pandemic timings, we have done much more than what probably would have ever thought of. I think that's the need of an hour. And this reminds me of one thing wherein people say, guys, if you want to be in business tomorrow, don't use the tools and methods which you used to do till yesterday, because you'll be out of business. So obviously we need to change rapidly if we really want to continue in the business. So great. On that note, I think it's very important for us to now move on. And since we are talking about a lot of data points and we have spoken about a lot of other important innovative ideas also. So question to you, Pinni ma'am. Like in the industry, we keep hearing about data points, we keep hearing about analysis of data. Ultimately, what do we do with that? And what I mean is, uh, I just want to know your views when it comes to the optimal utilization of office space, and especially through analysis of data, or let's say to get some sort of insights from data. What do we really do with that, and how that is useful? So, Penny ma'am, your views.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. So before I really touch your question, I was going through this article and thought it's quite relevant for us. Are we living in a revolution? I mean, that was the question. And the article is from Baltimore Sun article, where it sums up global transformation is as radical, perhaps, as the Industrial Revolution. And the author explores the impact of the work from office infrastructure, the impact to our socialization that will happen as we move out of this COVID. So it's quite a thoughtful statement made by the author, and it is thought provoking for all of us to think how this is going to impact. Many a times I hear people saying, oh, it's COVID, it'll go away and people will change. Actually, we don't know. It may actually become normal, or as everyone calls it, the new normal. So data is going to be the key driver for organizations to think how they are going to move ahead. And also culturally, depending in the region you are, how are we going to collate that data and how does it map to our people? So collecting data, Shobit touched a lot of, Ajay shared a lot of insight into, all your sensors and everything, and we know who's coming in and going out, or what are they using and what temperature they like, etc., etc. That's all, as I say, there's loads of it. But to your point, what do we do with that data? How do we analyze what is it that is relevant to us? And how are we going to utilize this data? It's nice to say I have a real smart office. Everything is at a click of a button. But what are we doing with it? So really what we have done is to analyze our data and see how we are going to look ahead in the next 5 to 10 years from a office construction infrastructure people connect space. People are quite happy. And I'm in a technology company. People have been more productive from home. But really, is that true? Yeah, everyone's racing against the race because you don't want to be left out. But what are the inconveniences at home? Do we have a smart home? Do we have everything connected at home? What is the pain people are going through? So I think I feel it's a little early for us to put our finger onto the real crux of the problem that, yeah, this can be solved by this. I think it'll be hit and trials. We'll keep doing it. But share an example what we are looking at with the data that we collected from, say, how many people come in and how many people said they can never work from home, which was, of course, proven completely wrong because now they had to work from home and everybody worked from home. So yes, the organization supported people to work from home. We sort of shipped a lot of stuff to their homes and made it as comfortable as possible for them. But are these people going to come back? That's the data we need. Are they really going to work 5 days a week in the office, or are they going to choose 2 days and 3 days away, or 3 days and 2 days, or 1 day? That's what is actually going to impact our future office space and how we will design it and look at it. So in the initial stages of our research, we have learned that people would like, and I'm talking of India, China. Let's stay within the region because EMEA and America has become a little more different. Within this region, it actually says people want to come back to work at least 3 days a week, if not more. And if that's going to happen, I'll be surprised that we'll really change the way we build our offices, because if 3 days a person is coming to work, then what really is going to change? So it's going to be interesting. It's a learning for all of us, and we're all learning from it each day. We haven't opened our offices so far, but I'm sure it'll be a surprise when we open, and maybe our data will be absolutely obsolete.
Good to know, especially with the data points. It gives you that comfort that whatever you think probably is right. But a general data worldwide, you are saying let's restrict ourselves to the region. The general data worldwide says all married people, they responded saying we want to come back. We will probably take a hit on that. But anyway,
Rajesh, yes.
I've done so much of work, so I'll not take away this from you guys. So I'll back up on your data. But I think taking this forward, and since Nirmal had probably the loudest laugh on this one, so Nirmal, now coming to just thought of understanding your viewpoint when we talk about this data, and seriously, again, going back to the pandemic scenario.
Sure.
How do you think, and since you guys help a lot of companies, a lot of people in the industry to complete their so-called dream projects, tell me how is that helping you out? Is there any trend which you're seeing, especially post-COVID on that?
Yes, we are seeing some trends emerging, and to reinforce what Pinni said, that we are getting different feedback from different markets. So we have a feedback from APAC region. South Asia has a different feedback actually, and EMEA has a different feedback, and US has altogether different feedback. So I'll just focus on India, and we are a design firm that relies very heavily on research. So one thing that we know is that yes, when the situation arose, people made it work to work from home. But the challenge in India is that a lot of people live in joint families. The infrastructure is very poor, or in places like Mumbai, they are in PG accommodation. So in some cases, in our case actually, we wanted to give desktop computers to some of our architects and designers, and they said, well, we have no place in our apartment even to put a desk. So that kind of gives an indication that what are the challenges of working from home. So if I were to look at in our crystal ball, 6 months down the road or a year down the road, when there is a cure or treatment found for COVID, because of variety of factors that I just talked about, and also very high cost of real estate, I think both business and the employees would want to get back to as much as what it was before. But having said that, one thing this pandemic has done is that it has reinforced that work from home can work for some people. So there would be a segment of population that would be willing to work or would prefer to work from home. The issue of connectivity remains big. I know that larger firms like Pinni's firm and Intel and all that, they've installed high-speed networks in people's homes so that they could work. But that is limited to fewer technology and capitalized companies as such. But what will happen, I think, and what we see in future is that we would be looking at things a little bit more differently. There would be a greater disparity between head count and seat count. There would be fewer assigned seat. There'll be more flexible seating, so people will come and take up whatever desks we have. We will have technology-enabled solution that would allow people to occupy a desk, and all the infrastructure would be routed to them, resources would be routed to them, so that if I come to office and say that, where is Rajesh? I just need to look at in my app, and it would tell me on what floor, what desk Rajesh is sitting on. So technology will play a very, very big role in how we optimize, our resources as such. So as is, there has been big debate even before pandemic is that, are we using our resources, optimizing our resources? My short answer even at that time was that no, we are not. Now it would become even more so. The other thing that will happen is that uh, many we are looking for paradigm shift in many things right now. How we work, like for example, uh, the technology would enable so that the office would know that Nirmal has walked in. There'll be more and more application of face recognition software that would work as a not only as a security measure, but it'll also check your health. It'll uh, do things. It'll let your team know that Nirmal has entered in the office, and also it'll give option to Nirmal where he can sit, which floor, what desk. If I need a meeting room, it will tell me that. Meeting room would know what are my liking and things like that. Depending on time of the day, maybe I can activate circadian lighting so that if I'm working long hours for my well-being as such. Well-being also would be very important in that scenario as well. So I think I'm being very optimistic now that the cost of real estate per head would go down because of these changes which are coming as such. Our efficiency rates will go up much higher than what we expect. I'm expecting increased efficiency of almost 20% uh, in the real estate area alone as such. So this is just from an employee standpoint. There are many aspects I can talk about, so I'll give it back to you, Rajesh.
So thank you so much, Nirmal. And I think bang on, because what you have spoken about is what exactly people are looking at, to be very frank. And you're right. When it's about the optimal utilization of resources, I don't know whether we'll ever have a 100% foolproof answer to that. But to whatever extent we can, I think, use that's for the benefit of the organization. And I'm glad that you and your company, your teams are looking into this aspect also, because it's now become more critical. You're right, because you don't know how many percentage of people will be finally allowed to come to office.
Sure.
So it's going to be very important. Great. I think that's good to know. So quickly now moving on, and I think with that, my next question obviously comes into the whole concept of this 3 C's, which is all about connectivity, communication, and collaboration, which we often talk about in any organization. And I think on this, I would rather now come to Ajay Kumar. Ajay is representing CBRE here. So the question is pretty simple, because when we talk about these aspects, so what sort of relationship we look at when we talk about a smart office technology oblique an IoT system oblique the overall productivity, because this is in combination. So we can't say we have a very smart office, but my productivity is still gone down. I can't say I have an IoT solution, but we just spoke about that people getting into office, if they need to work long hours, the lighting will adjust accordingly. But in spite of that, my productivity is still low. So I'm just trying to hear your views on this. That what's your take? What do you have to say on this?
There are 5 words which keep ringing over and over in the last couple of months. 5 of those are COVID, work from home, then there is unprecedented, opportunity, and challenges. While we hear this time and again, uh, and when you talk about technology in the office and with respect to the 3 C's, for me, technology is an ocean which has got unprecedented, again, I will use unprecedented possibilities, because you could do a lot of things with technology. You could think of a lot of things. For one instance, probably if you step back and see, what would we have done if technology was not there when COVID hit us? What would have done? So it would have put us in a completely new. Even considering this, the today technology is more of a need from in every walk of life and everything that we do. Technology was a disruptor at that particular age when it was completely industrial, when internet was just introduced. But over a period of time, it has taken quite some time for technology to advance itself to the state that it is in today. But if you look at in the last probably about 6 to 8 months, the amount of advancement in technology that has come in, it has actually put forward a lot of possibility for us and gave us an opportunity to see as to how we could do the same things in a different manner. We've been doing things time and again over a period of time, but how are we changing our ways of working? How are there multiple ways of doing things? In fact, the last 6 months, from a productivity point of view, the usage of technology, usage of Zoom, usage of video technology has been so high. We have literally discovered that people can actually work from home and be highly productive. Why we have seen that there's been a huge increase in productivity in different walks of life. But yeah, from a point of view where it comes to projects, there definitely is a requirement that we need to be on site. There is a section of people who are knowledge workers who could sit at home and do it, give us that productivity. And as Nirmal mentioned, there probably a 20% increase in productivity. Yes, we did see that. But I'll also come to a point as to what is the flip side of increasing that productivity as against the real sustenance of it on a continual basis. But on the other side of it, there is another part where we have projects to build, and projects can't be built in a virtual space. And we need to be definitely be there as in person to do it. But that said, there again, technology has proven a lot in terms of how we can increase the output, how we can manage the project sitting in a remote location, how technology can help us in terms of improving things the way we do it. For example, we introduced a touchless system, mostly site team members who are always having a site note, papers, drawings, everything. Now today, because of COVID, it gave us an opportunity. It was also a challenge put in front of us because our own people were asking that their wives, their families were asking, telling them not to go to the site because they have to touch a lot of things. So the first particular challenge that came in front of us as to how to make things touchless, how to make it much more viable for them to quickly use it. So we introduced a system which completely takes away paper from the whole site, which is basically nothing but an infusion of technology, which also meant that there was a high increase in productivity from a point of view of translation of the data from site that has been observed to making a report and sending it out. So it is all from a click of a button that was done. While on the other side of it, knowledge workers who did not have to go to the site but had a lot of work that has to be done on the table, they were able to multitask. While multitasking was a great thing to do, but I also mentioned that it could not be, it may not be a sustainable kind of solution, basically because the kind of work we do, it also requires a lot of social interaction. Now, because this is not a particular task-based work, but a knowledge-based work, and for knowledge workers, it would be important that we need to really come into a particular office, have a personal connect. That is where there is a lot of knowledge transaction that happens. There's a lot of innovation that comes in. There's a lot of information that gets changed and used. So technology as such, we have to be very prudent in the way we use technology, because again, technology sitting offsite, we can increase productivity, but usage of that would be very, very important. When that said, and as I mentioned, technology is an ocean. There are a lot of possibilities, a lot of tools that are available. Tools, organization can buy tools, but how good are we in disseminating and training people to use those tools effectively for absolute high level of productivity? A person with a half knowledge of using a tool will obviously give you much lower productivity than what you have invested in for. So even that's another aspect which needs to be taken into consideration while we all look at investing towards technology and seeing as to how good we make the best use of it. So what you get to?
Thank you so much, Ajay. I think it's pretty impressive and interesting. Also, what you lastly said was very, very important. That just getting a tool or getting a knowledge is probably one part of the story, but how to really drill it down to the people who need to finally use it, I think that's very, very critical. And at times we fail there. And I think that reminds me again of a very interesting quote, because everyone in the life wants to be first, first, first. And someone said, guys, don't try to be. Pinni starts smiling moment. I try and divert. But anyway, I'll still say this, whether you like it, you don't like it. People say, they say it's better to be unique, guys, than to be best, because there can be many best. So in a class, they say I'm the first, I'm the first. In a school, there are 12 classes, and every class has 5 sections. There can be 60 people as first, but there can be only one Captain Rajesh who is always late in the school. So they say he's a unique guy. But one unique person and there can be many first. So that way, I think very, very important what Ajay said. I know, Shobit, it was on technology, so I know there is a lot for you to share, but I'll hold you there for the timing. On that note, I thought it's again important for me to understand in the current scenario, everything is changing so much in the offices, and cafeteria or food management again is a very, very important critical aspect. So just thought of hearing your views, our panelists, and maybe I can start with you, Nirmal. What do you think about it? That how do we really look at this particular piece? Because this is considered to be essential. You may tell people, okay, get your food. You still see people ordering food from outside. You don't provide them the order. It still comes in. So anything in specific for cafeteria management or food management, Nirmal?
Yes. One thing that we, in some of the recent projects that we are doing, the Bain Marie concept where the food is cooked outside and it is served in the office. That for the most small to mid-size offices, that was a viable mean as such. For larger campuses, we had full service kitchen, food is cooked there. But the problem really comes in is on the serving lines. So what is happening is that now we are doing some pilot project and at least exploring the idea that food would be cooked, it would be packed. And so people will come and grab a tray and they will grab a small packet of rice and they will grab a bowl which is already packed of maybe maki dal or sambar or whatever it is. So this whole notion of packing the food in order to contain the infection and things like that is taking the front seat. The other part of that is that a side effect of that is that, at least that's what food service consultants are telling, that it's reducing the wastage. Means they can calculate much more accurately that however many number of people are there, they can make that many boxes and they know how many, it's really down to science to say that how many people will take rice, how many people will take sabji, how many people will take chapati and things like that. So that's one aspect of it. Is Bain Marie going to go away? I don't think so. But at least in the short term, it may not be there, may not be functional as such. And the other thing is that people have started, because they were not working from outside, people are looking at food in a more healthy environment. So the food menus are changing. Food menus were already changing in technology fronts, but now even people of my age and all that, my generation, are looking at maybe it's not a bad idea to have the salads and the soups and things like that. So the food menus are also changing. I don't think that it would change so drastically that we would not have live kitchen. We would have live kitchen, but the role of packaged food delivery system would increase a lot more than what you are seeing there. Also, many companies have started encouraging people to bring food from home, to say that you can bring it from home and sit down and eat in cafeteria. Part of the reason is that they want to lower the risk for employees. So these are some of the changes that we are looking at. One thing which is still to be determined, and I don't have an answer for that, is that we normally discourage companies to allow eating food at the desk because of the problems with rats and things like that, the hygienic problems as such. Now, because of pandemic, there are fewer people there. Some of the companies are relaxing the standards. Now, how does it affect the design industry? Is that maybe cafeteria sizing is becoming smaller. So these are some changes to be seen. We are still researching that. Stay tuned. We'll share some more information later on.
Sure. Thank you so much. But it's good to know that at least there are alternates now available and people are looking for that. I think that's important. Sorry, I know we are running short of time, but Pinni, since your company provides again food to your employees, any comments on that part of it?
Yeah, thanks, Rajesh. And I think Nirmal touched upon it, but I have a counter to that. Are we really going to increase the plastic and environment issues
Yeah.
with the packing, because that's going to hit us. And we were thinking about that as Microsoft, they really got aggressive goals to be conscious of environment and sustainability. So my thinking was, and we had some discussions with dietitians and nutritionists and caterers, that how do you control and keep the food at a certain temperature, ensuring that it's safe. At the same time, ensuring that it's healthy and seasonal. And do we really go back to our grandmother's times where we actually ate fresh food? And it was only, if you ate a Karela, it was only in the summer, you never ate it in the winter. And so I think it's evolving, this thinking, and the well-being is on top of everybody's mind. So every organization will have to think about it seriously. I think asking people to bring food from home is just a shortcut. As organizations, we will have to be innovative and creative to support the need of the employee at the office space. So, Rajesh, I think there's time for that. Maybe next webinar, we may have some better answers for it.
Great. I think that's a food for thought for all of us. And next time, definitely we'll look for more answers. So, sorry, guys, I know quickly. Another very important aspect is the employee health safety, what we keep talking about. I think that's still not touched upon. So, Nittan, I can probably request you to throw some light. So, in the current scenario, and especially when we talk about technology, how do you think we are looking at the safety or well-being of our people? I mean, anything in specific, additional, extra, what we are doing to ensure that?
Yeah, sure. So during this pandemic, in fact, as Nirmal also mentioned earlier, and also Ajay, uh, you know, we as a corporate and every individual got appified. So lots of apps in the market. Arogya Setu once mandatory, not now. There were different apps which were talking to government servers, containment zones, hotspots, and so forth. So we did all those things, right? And now we have, yes, technology. We have developed a platform whereby obviously people who are required to be in office, they are the ones who have been given access to. Um, this is primarily because of certain restrictions, that they are not able to work from home, and they're facing some difficulties. That is what it is. But yes, at the same point in time, we have ensured that it is more of a touchless, a touch-free environment, end to end, and it is right from a colleague being picked up from his home to enter the campus, and then getting into the uh, a so-called ODC environment. Everything is touch free, apart from when he does a when he's typing on the keyboard, which is also sanitized on a periodic basis. uh, yes, the safety and security has become paramount discussion at this point in time. And the colleague should be not uh, convinced by words. It has to be people need to see what you are doing. And what we have also ensured is, through the technology and the platforms that we are using, there is enough gap between two of the badges, right? So that the workspace areas and the related common areas are sanitized properly. One thing what we have also ensured is, again, we have created zones, so that not no two groups will ever intermingle with each other, and hence creating a larger impact to a particular office space. So yes, it has helped us a lot in last 4 months. We are returning back to office, but in smaller batches. But I think it's nothing is right or wrong. It is hit and trial that we are trying to do. Whenever time comes, obviously there will be uh, a different change or a different norm altogether, like Pinni ma'am has mentioned earlier. Yeah. So all data being collated at this point in time may or may not be useful at all. With the recent changes in OSP license, from the government stuff, it is more to becoming uh, not getting people to office. It is taking work to people's place. So I think the mindset has also changed. What we were discussing earlier. We were deliberating a point, how do we create a delivery centers in a hub and spoke model? How do we, create um, centers which are, near to our existing offices? Now it is different story altogether, right? So the thought process has completely changed. So yes,
I
good
think
things
this
coming
was,
up.
yeah,
Good things
this is
coming up.
excellent and this is good to hear. There's so much which companies are doing it. And last 2 cents from you, Ajay Kumar, on this particular aspect of employee health safety. Any final comments from you?
Sure, Captain. Nittan did really touch upon the we aspect of it. This is more about as to what an individual needs to do and how do we take care of the safety of it. But what I would like to touch upon is as a industry, stakeholders from the real estate industry, what can we do as a whole to enable this we to ensure that they operate properly. Just take for an instance, I will take a cue from what Shobit also mentioned. They are rolling out AIM, which is basically more of an automated integrated management system. Now, similarly, from a construction point of view, today from a facilities, because today the way offices are changing, we are looking at agility, we are looking at spaces which can transform very quickly, because we do not know what lies ahead tomorrow, how things are going to change, what is the ask for tomorrow's date. Today, tomorrow, we might be talking about getting in pods, we might be talking about getting a high flexible, we spoke about flexible seating systems and all that. Tomorrow, the opportunity would be more about groups, how they perform, how they work inside the office space. So it would be important for us from a construction point of view to provide, let's say, in case if there is an ask that we need to move a particular space very quickly, which needs to be transformed into a place. Do we today have the intelligence of seeing as to what has gone above the ceiling during the construction? To Shobit's point, where are the cables running? Where are the electrical cables running? Where are those things running? So today, I would probably want to say that we should provide our facilities team, the entire real estate team, which is managing the real estate, the new part of it, enable them with an aspect where they are able to actually look at layers of the work that has gone inside the walls, inside the various layers of beautiful things that we see inside the office. So it's basically more about layering. So I'm more driving at the usage of technology during construction, where we have visuals that are captured, which can be layered in a particular manner that tomorrow at any time we need to change something, or if there is an issue inside the office, we should be able to pinpoint and see as to how things have been laid without actually disrupting the office space. So it's more about using disruptive technology in terms of providing these insights to the facilities team, because construction is not a one-time action that gets completed, but also is important that it is sustained all through the time where employees are using that particular space.
Great, Ajay. I think 100% with you. You're bang on because a lot of time, and this tussle is always there between the FM and the projects team. They say this is what they gave us, and we have no clue in terms of what's going on. And Shobit, to you, like which wire is going where, only technical person like you would know. Someone like me would always get lost to that. So, but I think that's pretty interesting. So, guys, I know we are, I think, probably 5 minutes over time, but this was needed. It was pretty interesting because the topic was interesting, and I think this is one thing which everyone is talking about. In fact, every office, every team, people are talking about this whole concept of how we can be smarter, smarter, smarter. And today, what I heard was yes, there's always a scope for improvement, but there's a lot which is already being done. There's a lot which is already been thought through, and now it's all about implementation. So today we start looking at our offices. When we get back to our offices with the full force, I think that's the time we'll see how, to what extent we have achieved what we really wanted to achieve. But I always say before I close, guys, these are not knowledge sessions. I always say knowledge is only available with one person these days, and that's our Google uncle. So if you need any knowledge, go to Google Uncle. They will give you knowledge. These are experience sessions where the people are talking about their experiences, and I think that's all of us to really look at our organizations, that what is good for us, what is not good for us, and we can choose, because maybe one solution may not really fit all. Like they say, na, if you know your qualities, you are smart, and then if you are aware of your weaknesses, you are intelligent. But if you know both, you're a successful person. So it's up to you. So whatever good thing you are doing it is great. You are smart people. If there's anything which you are not doing, now you know, you'll be intelligent. You should start doing that. But a combination of that will surely make you successful. I think on that note, I'll once again thank all our panelists for their time. We would definitely thank on behalf of everyone. We would thank all the participants who patiently heard us, and finally the ITP group for this particular opportunity. I personally enjoyed it, and I'm hoping so for the rest of the people. So on that note, I can give it back to you, Indrajit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain. Like before we like call it a day, like we have a couple of questions like that we would like to take. Though we are running short of time, but at least two questions we'll quickly try to take. And if you can,
Oh,
like
please,
just
all question to the panelist. I am only here to moderate, so I don't do any tough job.
I know.
Shoot questions.
So the very first and interesting question is: any tips on how to open the offices now? Anyone can take it.
Since we have two leaders here representing Microsoft and Wipro, maybe they can take on. But since they have not started, maybe I can take this straight away. I think
Yeah.
pretty simple, guys. It's apart from the fact that there are a lot of guidelines, norms which are dictated, mandated by the civil authorities or the local authorities. But beyond that, you also need to look at, and that's what we were talking about. Every company have a different style. Every company has a different requirement. A BPO may have a different requirement versus an IT company versus a production or a manufacturing unit. So we need to make sure we have the best of the SOPs available these days. And right from 6 feet office concept which came in post this COVID, versus there are so many good things available in the market. You just need to make sure that as the FM professional or as part of the management, you have those very well documented. And again, going back to what Ajay said, this needs to be translated to people. I'll talk about our organization. When we decided to start our offices, we had in spite of the fact the whole SOP which was communicated, relayed to everyone, we had sessions, we had these sort of sessions with all employees who were supposed to be joining in. We took a round of the premises, there was a video captured, shown to them every step, because there's a lot of news, there are a lot of first now post-COVID, and it was very simple to say, guys, when you come, how to use the restroom. But finally, when people saw that, how do they need to use? If there are 4 people in the restroom, there is a light on the top of it. This will turn red, which means there are already 4 people inside. So you are not even supposed to get into a restroom. Very, very basic stuff, and that's a very, very basic sensor which you just place on the door. So when people move in, they count the numbers and they turn the light into red, which means if there is a capacity of 8, 50%. So there are so many such basic stuff which needs to be done, but you need to communicate it well to your people. I think that's the mantra, because you may do your best, and suddenly they come in and they say, oh, sorry, we were stopped by DLF guys because we didn't have Arogya Setu. No one told us. We thought it's just for the sake of it. So I'm saying the communication is going to the key, and I'm sure we all are very, 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 very sensitive about health of our people. So we'll do that, but these are the only few tips which I think which probably will help.
Thank you so much. This would be really helpful. And this one is from Jain Seth Struktmas. He wants to ask how the conference room could be designed with COVID-19 pandemic not receding to safe limits.
So maybe Nirmal, Shobit, if you guys can take this on. Conference room designing, keeping in mind the COVID environment.
I think the first step obviously is that you have to look at the whole notion of number of people in the conference room. Like we used to have 4-seater, 6-seater, 8-seater, and things like that. So need to take a look at what is the number of participant in the space as such. And one other thing that we are encouraging our clients is to, rather than use conference room, use open area collaboration spaces as a meeting space, so that you are not in enclosed space. There is a greater volume of air which is going on. Second thing that you can be doing is that, and that actually means spending some money, is to modify the HVAC system to pump more air, have exhaust capability in that, so that the close proximity is less harmful as such. The third thing that obviously that you can do is that which comes in the facilities side, is to have sanitized conference room, which is being used by many people on a daily basis. Every day it is sanitized, so that next day when people come and use that, they find some greater degree of safety in that. And the third thing is, and the fourth thing that you can do in addition to that, is that because there are fewer people coming in the office, and there was a question about how to open an office, and one of the answer to that is that you open the office in small increments. You don't bring everybody in all at once. And maybe the idea is to do multiple shifts as such. So that may be a possibility. What that does is that it reduces the demand of conference space. So these are some of the, there's no one answer. You'll have to do combination of things in order to see desired results.
Thank you so much. Probably we'll have a separate conference on this, a separate webinar on how to design. With work from home emerging as an option, do you think the capex cost of owning the office and opex cost will go down? It's like, if anyone wants to take this.
See, again, I think just to summarize, like we are saying, it purely depends on an organization to organization. There are different specific needs, and we need to keep that in mind. So a very generic answer will really not work, especially for this one. And on a very, very broad level, how many offices have really started working today? As per my knowledge, I can count on my fingertips. And if you look at the percentage of people, it's less than, let's say, 10% of people who are coming into the office. So point is, they're still managing their work. Why do they need those 10% of people to come to office? Because that's what people are talking about. They're experimenting. They're seeing what is the best way to really look forward in life. But at the same time, real estate is something you just can't decide today, okay, we'll release 100,000 square foot of area. And tomorrow, if there's a need, again, we'll go and we'll try and get that piece. It's not that easy. It's a long-term investment. It's a long-term measure which any company or any management needs to take it. So purely depending on the need of the organization, the answers will vary. But as of now, the trend, what we have seen in the industry, real estate has not really gone down. Rather, in certain areas, and I want to get into more details because I represent Cushman Wakefield, that's our job, the cost of real estate has gone up. And there are reasons for that. There may be multiple angles to that, but then that's how it is. So it's very, very difficult unless you know which specific type of industry people are talking about and what's the say or mandate from their management. I think it's a very tough call. And this is, guys, not specific to India. This is worldwide. So we keep, yesterday, coincidentally, we had our APAC event, and every country was more or less on a very similar setup that we don't know how people are behaving, trending. But as of now, real estate has not gone down. That's for sure.
Thank you, sir. We'll take other questions probably offline. Since we are running out of, thank you, Captain Sharma, for moderating the discussion so well and bringing out the best from each of our experts. Thank you all the panelists for being such a sport and giving out the secret ingredient that goes into designing a smart office, future-ready campuses. And let me sum up as the future of workspaces is employee-centric, and the rise of smart buildings typify that employees will no longer be made to fit into pre-designed work sites, but contrarily, workspace will be crafted to adjust to our needs and optimize our performances. Once the pandemic is over, people would like to come back to offices, especially the married ones, as Captain said. But we have flexible seating and different head counts and seat counts. Like probably that would come into effect. Ultimately, merging smart technology with office design not only promotes a more efficient and healthier workforce, but it is also one of the most effective solutions for environment sustainability, as Pinni ma'am said. And last but not the least, you know who to go to when you are looking for seamless connectivity to make your office smart. Of course, Commscope. Thank you, lovely audience, for being participative and making the discussion interesting. We were not able to answer all your questions, but of course, we can answer them offline or just look forward to another webinar in the series. We'll be back with you soon. Till then, goodbye, take care, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you so much for your time.